Scotsmen lay there dreaming at 45 degrees. He dreamed the Titanic was sinking, dropping to her knees.
Bob Dylan is a singer, songwriter and musician who's one of the most influential and successful songwriters in the world ever. He's had enormous cultural impact, especially in his native America. He started in 1961 as a folk singer, coming out of the Beat generation. He annoyed a lot of his fans when he embraced electric instruments in about 1965. He toured and recorded with his band called The Band. He explored country music in the early 70s, became a born-again Christian in the late 70s, and produced several Christian-related albums. His career's meandered a bit since then, but is still active, and to date he has released, I think, 39 studio albums. Hi, my name's Dan. So this was Bob Dylan's 35th studio album. He's done quite a few. Of course, I've heard of him. I've heard some of his stuff before, but this is the first time that I've listened to this album. So let's try and describe it. It's kind of folky, bluesy rock stuff. It's got a foot in the Americana kind of stuff, but it's also got elements of other folk traditions in there, kind of particularly the singing folk from Ireland or somewhere like that. It's got a very warm and engaging sound. The production is quite typical of this kind of album at this point in time, which is very warm. It's got a kind of natural feel to it. I really like this kind of production. So there's some folk that has been like this. Some of the later Tom Waits and some later Johnny Cash albums particularly have this kind of sound to them. His voice is incredibly gravelly and low and loud like this. Again, that reminds me of Tom Waits. And the songs are all story songs, again, like Tom Waits. I'm not trying to say that Bob Dylan is a poor man's Tom Waits. I think that there's just a lot of similarity between this album and some of the Tom Waits stuff. The subject matter is pretty dark. At times, there's quite a wry look at some parts of society, I guess, in some ways. It's not really social commentary in the way that he used to do with his political stuff back in the 60s. Some of the songs are really long, and they've got quite simple chord sequences and tunes and things that just roll on and on and on. I would say that that's probably my biggest criticism, is that some of the songs just go on a bit. But otherwise, I would say it's a strong album. There's some really inventive songs. He's not, by any means, over the years, lost his ability to write a good song that's engaging. Yeah, no, these are good. I'm going to pick a couple out. The Tempest, which I think is the longest track. Sorry, it's called Tempest, not The Tempest. He's quite clear about this. Okay, let's just step sideways into that. When it came out and it was called Tempest, people speculated that it might be his last album based on their thought that The Tempest was the last of Shakespeare's plays. Okay, and Bob Dylan said, no, that's absolutely, can't you see that that's not true, because this isn't called The Tempest, it's called Tempest, which is different. Yes, okay, fair enough. I'm not sure that the argument follows, but he was sure that it wasn't his last album, and it definitely wasn't, because he's released some more since then. Anyway, let's get back into the album. Another track I want to draw out is the last track on the album, Roll On John, which is about John Lennon, and is a nicely put together song. It quotes from Beatles songs throughout, just using the words in context and slipping them in. So that's nicely done and put together. So all in all, I enjoyed the album. I like the sound, I like the songs, I like the feel. I'm not jumping up and down in absolute ecstasy at it, but I certainly wouldn't object to listening to it again, or possibly even having a copy in my collection. So that's it from me. What do you think about this album? I'd love to hear from you. Please let me know in the comments below. That's it from me for now.
Well, I'm grinding my life out, steady and sure. Nothing more wretched than what I must endure. I'm drenched to the light that shines from the sun. I could stone you to death for the wrongs that you done.